Hey everyone, welcome to Author Mastery Insights. I'm with David Serio, and this is going to be one of my most favourite conversations because this man is an incredible chiropractor, a principled chiropractor, an incredible author of these fantastic books, which I have and I want you to get. But we're going to be talking about this, that David wrote, The Triune of the Chiropractic Practice with Pablo Herrera Loyola. And you know what? Let's just jump straight into the conversation about this. Why did you write this book, Dr. David?
Marcos, thank you so much for having me here. Well, actually, this was the idea. So Pablo is my right hand in Vita Chiropractic, and he came up with the idea. And he told me, David, I've been thinking a lot about, okay, what are the three key foundational blocks that allows a chiropractor, enables a chiropractor to have a dream practice, have a dream life? And he said, I really think it's service, it's personal growth, and it's business. And I said, that's the foundation I've been utilizing since Sherman College. And so what we did was we said, okay, let's do this in 2 languages, and then we'll translate it in both. So he wrote in Spanish, I wrote in English. We translated both. Spanish is going to come out soon. And so our idea was, Marcus, is that every single page had to bring massive value to the reader in those 3 categories: personal growth, service, and business.
Yeah, and look, honestly, the one thing I've always appreciated about you, David, is that you write in a very accessible way. You make complex ideas, thoughts, processes simple, accessible, and realizable for the average practitioner, let alone the great thought leaders, and also for the general community as well. So, one thing I loved about, this, and when I started reading it, I went, first, you've got the Triune there, service, business, personal growth, because, I just want to share this all before we go into this Triune here, because I remember reading Jim Rohn so many years ago, and Jim Rohn said something that always made me think more about the Triune as well. And he said, work harder on your life than you do on your business, and work really hard on your business. And the emphasis there was, well, you've got to work on your business to succeed and have impact. And you need a servant heart to really make change in people's lives. However, that personal growth often gets ignored in the sense that you cannot necessarily grow your business beyond your own personal limitations, your own limiting beliefs, your doubts, your uncertainties, your insecurities. And so for you to bring this together in what is a really distinctive Triune, I thought, you've brought a chiropractic philosophy, the Triune of life, and you've brought the Triune of business together in such a profound way. So I wanted to appreciate, 1, the way that you structured this book, and 2, the way that you've made it accessible. So that's the first thing. So let's talk about the Triune. Why did you choose the philosophical framework of the Triune and bring those together? And how did it fit philosophically together?
Okay, first of all, thank you for the great compliments. I mean, what you just said was really the essence of the whole book. I really like to go deep, but I always think about what Einstein said. If you can't explain it, to a little kid in 2 minutes, you don't really get what you're doing. And so I always try to bring these deep concepts and think about, how can I explain this in such a practical way that we can utilize it for our lives? Because if you can't take a deep concept and utilize it in a practical way, what does it really matter in the end? So the Triune, Marcus, my whole life is based on the Triune. For example, my family is 3 people. It's my wife, my daughter. We didn't even think about having a 4th. It's like my whole life is based on that whole principle of the Triune: intelligence, force, and matter. And so what I think about the 33 principles is they really could be applied to all aspects of life. And so it wasn't even a question beyond, how do we apply this to success, and success in practice, success in life? And that's really how simple we came up with this. And one of the things, Marcus, I think is really missing in our profession on a big level today is the service heart. I think in a way it started to get shifted over to business and marketing and everything, especially with social media. But the essence of who we are as chiropractors and what made us a great profession was this idea of service and serving from our own abundance and everything that goes behind that. And one of the things one of my mentors taught me, which was Arnold Bernier, is this is really a spiritual path. For me, business is a spiritual path, practice is a spiritual path. And when you apply spiritual principles to your practice, to your life, to business, it really makes it so much easier. And the universe starts to provide to you in ways that go so far beyond our educated mind. You can't even imagine, how your life can be created from a place of the immaterial world when you apply certain principles.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and it's an immutable truth. It is undeniable. And when you the great point is you define what service is, and you really emphasize service as spiritual act. And I want to talk. I mean, there's a whole host of processes, and that's why I want everybody to read this book, because it really gives you that understanding of service, not only as a spiritual act, but a way of living, of practicing, of living your life and experiencing, and expressing your purpose in the world. So I'd love for you just to highlight, if you could bring one of the key principles out, how has that service has impacted your personal life and your professional life and brought meaning to those, that makes sense of making a service heart and a servant mindset so significant in a person's life?
Perfect. So often I think, Marcus, we think of serving is you have to do something, for free. It's like the firefighters maybe that volunteer and that's part of it. Definitely that's a piece of it. But service can be, you washing the dishes in the morning for your family, or, when you have someone in front of you, I'm going to give you an example. How many times have you gone to a restaurant where the waiter or waitress looked in your eyes, said their name, really served you? You never forget that experience. They went beyond just showing up, right? And you definitely tipped them better, and you definitely remembered them, and they made a difference in your day. Well, in our daily practice, I think chiropractic is such a beautiful way to express that, because every single second we have people in front of us. We could choose to show up in our entirety and prepare for that day, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Show up, look people in their eyes, be present with them, say their name, really look into their soul, besides all of the amazing things of the chiropractic analysis and adjustment. But it's the difference between an ordinary and extraordinary practice. And my personal, let's say, mantra in life is this: it's not what I get, it's what I give. And what I give, if I have someone in front of me, my mantra is this: you will never be able to give back to me what I'm going to give to you. And that creates this cycle of energy in the universe where I never have to worry about anything, whether it's economically or spiritually or emotionally or socially. Because when you come from that place, the universe takes care of the rest, and it really makes business and practice easy. It really does.
Really does. So I've been reading this in not only preparation for talking with you about this, I've been reading it because when I read books from you, chiropractic books, it continues to keep me focused on the principle and focused on serving and adding value within my practice, within my life, and making a beneficial contribution to humanity. And in reading this, I was talking of service as a spiritual act. I was also, that mindset of service. And last night, in reading this, there was a thought that came to me, an experience that I had that really emphasized this. And it was keeping my mind on these thoughts that, led me into an action that I knew was profound as well. And so I want to share this because reading this just attuned me to this process. And this is why people need to read this book and apply these books and their ideas in their lives. And last night, my CA, my chiropractic assistant, had her first shift on her own. So she's been with us for a couple of weeks, and we had a massively intense session. It was prime time. She's on her own for the first time, and we finish at 6 o'clock, and you can tell that she's been, wow, this is intense. So she's shadowed, she's learned the roles, but the very first time you sit into a prime time in a busy practice, it's different. And she's had support, she's had people there, but this is the first time no one. She's on her own. And we get to the end of the shift, and she looked like, yeah, that was intense. And by the way, it was an 11-hour day for her as well. So she did 2 prime times, the morning shift, special consultations, and then an afternoon prime time shift as well. So she's just done an 11-hour shift. And the first thing I did, and she's closing up for the day, I went and did all the rooms for her, cleaned off the tables, put all the rubbish out. I basically did 2/3 of her job that evening while she was reconciling and things like that. And she's, at the end of it, she's like, you didn't have to do that. I said, I'm here to serve you. In that moment, the mindset of I'm here to serve you, she felt loved, she felt supported. That's her job, and I could have just walked out the door. However, my job is to serve, and in serving her, that elevates her appreciation for the team, for the practice, for me. And so the book was attuning me to and reminding me of my role as a servant leader within this practice. And I could see that her heart opened up in that moment of, I'm cared for here in this practice. And that's what you said when you said you don't have to worry financially, business-wise, or socially, because when you invest into people like that, there is a reward that you don't even have to calculate. It is just the natural aspect of who you are and the experience that flows on from that servant approach to life. And so I want to thank you, because reading this reminded me and brought me into that state in anticipation of when that opportunity arises. And I think that's what happens when you're reading these books, when you're working within the idea of the 33 principles and the Triune of the chiropractic practice. Moments of opportunity arise that flow over into your practice, into your life, and make a difference. And that's the purpose for why you've written this and the impact that it has. Am I right in my interpretation of that?
If the only effect that this book had, it's enough. I mean, you just filled my heart, because that's the exact purpose of that part on service. And it's interesting, Marcus, because today I was talking to a chiro, and they said, so one of the chiros on my team is about to hire their first CA, right? And they said, David, a lot of chiros told me that it's very hard to get a good CA. And I said, no. There's so many amazing people out there. The problem is not finding a good CA, is that most chiros don't look at it that they're a servant in their practice, and they are there to serve their CA as well. And if you serve your CA, what's your CA going to do back? They're going to serve you on a bigger level, and they're going to serve your people on a bigger level. And that's how this cycle just keeps growing and evolving and coming to a higher vibration. And there's no substitute for that. When people walk into your practice, Marcus, it's like, tomorrow, I guarantee, without a shadow of a doubt, she's going to come in such a different state, knowing that you served her, and people can pick up on that. That's the immaterial part of the practice that you can't quantify. That's the difference between you and people being attracted to you, and then another chiropractor down the street that's crying that there's not clients and it's so hard to build a practice. It's these immaterial things that make the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the counter argument to that is, if you do not serve your CAs, they're not going to serve the business, they're not going to serve the clients, and then you're going to be saying, why are my clients leaving? Why are my CAs leaving? And the answer is that a CA doesn't leave an organization, they leave the leadership, and they leave whether or not the person, whether they feel that they are cared for, whether there is a sense of service within there. And that's why reading this is so profound. It is an important reminder of that, and a way of living that.
Thank you. And going to the other 2 chapters, for me, it took me a long time I had some amazing mentors. I would say some of the best in my generation in straight chiropractic, but it took me a long time to understand the business, because for them, it was just like this easy thing that was part of it. So they didn't spend a lot of time with me on that. And it really took me a long time to figure it out. And so once I figured out the business piece, it really made a shift in the quality of my life, the quality of my practice. So in there are so many simple concepts of things that I made mistakes on, things that I learned. And one of the things Dr. Sid Williams taught me, he was one of my first mentors, actually. I went to Life College before I went to Sherman. And he taught me this. He said, David, you have a business hand, you have a service hand. During the day, they don't touch. You're in the service hand. But at the end of the day, if the business hand isn't being washed with the service hand, you're going to have problems. You know, and I did have problems. My first year, I saw hundreds of people and I was broke. And so I had to figure that out. So there's a lot of experience in here in the business of mistakes I made that I don't want other people to make. Just give you an example. Okay. One of the first things, Marcus, mistake that I made, I tell all my chiros, the first thing you should do is have 6 months of your life in your practice, all your bills put away. Right? Because if an emergency comes, you know, then you can take things a little bit easier. Well, in the south of Brazil right now, all the cities are underwater. Our practice will probably be closed for 3 months. So now the chiropractor has 6 months put away. Okay, he's safe, his family's safe, he doesn't have to worry. And that's a mistake I made. At one point in practice, I had some issues where I had to close for a few months. I didn't have that money put aside. It was a big stress for me. So those are simple things that I learned from mistakes. And then the last piece is personal growth. I'm going to sum it up with one phrase. The quality of your practice depends on the quality of your personal growth. And as we grow as human beings, your practice will grow. This is a human business. You know, people can feel you more than the words you're saying. So if you're not aligned emotionally, spiritually, you know, in every way, you're not living a life without subluxations. And Marcus, that blows me away. I never thought chiropractors, so many chiropractors I talk to don't get their spines checked regularly, which blows my mind, you know. And so how do you show up in practice and your person is like, your humanness is like exuding brilliance if you're subluxated? Not going to happen. You know, so that whole chapter on personal growth starts with, you know, you need to live an unsubluxated life, period. And if you're not doing that, forget about the rest of it, because none of it matters. You know, your energy is being vibrated at a certain level. If you're subluxated, it's distorted. Simple. So for me, that's where personal growth starts, brother.
Yeah, great.
Living
integrity is essential, isn't it? And the congruency. You can't ask people to do what you're not willing to do yourself. And who you are as a person actually is, you know, predates, if you like, who you are as a chiropractor. And so there must be that congruency, there must be that integrity, there must be the individual growth that is a predictor for the practice growth. And I think you have nailed it with the triune of the chiropractic practice. I think you have given so many chapters that are, you know, bite-sized, usable, wise counsel on a way to live your life, to run and operate a practice, to make a profound impact in the world through your service, through understanding your business, and through growing individually to bring and unify that together. So firstly, I just want to, as always, be so grateful for you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with me so I can continue to impact the world through speaking with great thought leaders of the profession. So I just want to remind everybody, the link will be below. Grab a copy of this book. Don't just read it though. Implement it, apply it, study it, make it an inherent part of your daily life and daily practices. And if you haven't got 33 principles, these two books in combination are a way to live the philosophy, understand and implement that within practice, and become the practitioner you know you can be to make a profound and powerful impact in humanity and service to the world through the gifts of chiropractic. Dr. David Serio, you are one of the great thought leaders of our profession. I love you, brother. I appreciate all that you do. Do you have any closing messages before we wrap up today?
Marcus, first of all, it's always an honor. I love you too. And I love seeing you at Sherman speaking on the stage. That was awesome to see. I was looking at all the pictures. I just want to give a shout out to Pablo because this was his idea and he wrote 50% of the chapters. So what we did together was he allowed me the freedom to clean up the English a little bit. And I allowed him the freedom in Spanish to clean up my Spanish, which we're hoping by July it'll be coming out in Spanish. And you inspired me to keep writing more books. So this book can be found on Amazon in hardcover, in softcover, and also on Kindle. And it's very accessible. So he's going to put the link down there. Anyone wants to contact me, ask me questions. I love Marcus, and thank you for putting a review on Amazon. That really helps. So if you buy it, please do a review, whether you liked it, you hated it, just do a review. I love honest reviews. Send me your feedback, send me a picture with the book so we can get this out to more people. We wrote it really just to make a difference in this profession. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, David. And it does make a difference. It's made a difference in my life, in my practice already, just by virtue of the story that I shared. And I know you're going to read this, it's going to make a difference to your life, your practice, and your own personal life as well. So, Dr. David, thank you. Everyone, come on, let's make this decision to make the world a better place. Use the resources within our profession to do that. The world's going to be a better place through it. Love you, brother. Take care.